everyone. I hope you're all keeping busy at home with all the wonderful things that the teachers have put together for you, and you're keep learning and keep busy. Today is St. Patrick's Day, and in honour of St. Patrick's Day, I'm going to read an Irish story from a book I have called A Pot of Gold. It's a collection of Irish stories and poems. So let me begin. It's Patrick O'Donnell and the Little Leprechaun. Patrick O'Donnell was walking home one night from the Donegal County Fair. As he came over the hill, he heard a shrill little scream out on the swamp. It sounded like a bird, but he'd never heard a bird like that before. So he made his way out into the bog, taking care not to sink into the thick mud. Thorn bushes snatched at his hands and his clothes, but he kept going. That little cry was urging him onwards. Finally he reached the middle of the bog, blinked his eyes in sheer surprise. The moon overhead was bright and full, so he could see quite well, and there, caught by his pants on a long thorn, was a little fairy man. "Poor wee thing," said Patrick, bending down. Then he caught sight of the tiny cobbler's bench underneath the thorn bush. "Why, you're a leprechaun!" The tiny man swung at him with his fists. He was firmly trapped on the thorn. "Just get me down and be careful. These are my new pants." Well, Patrick O'Donnell was no fool, and he remembered the old stories very well. Leprechauns always had magical pots of gold that never emptied themselves, hidden underneath. But if you could catch one, you never, ever, ever took your eyes off him. And he'd do anything you said. So if I asked the leprechaun for the pot of gold, the leprechaun would have to give it to me. "I'll help you," he said, gently taking the man off the thorn. "But I'm letting you know, your cattle are getting out of over by the fence." Patrick was no fool. He didn't look over by the fence, didn't take his eyes off the leprechaun. All right, said the leprechaun. "Put me down. I have a pot of gold in a field over there. I'll show you." As the moon rose across the sky, Patrick made his way deeper into the swamp, careful not to look away from the leprechaun. They came to a certain black thorn bush. "My gold is hidden under that bush," the leprechaun told him with a scowl. Patrick looked around the swamp and saw thousands and thousands of black thorn bushes, and they all looked the same. "Are you sure it's this one?" "As sure as I am the man who mends all the fairy shoes that are worn out from dancing. Just dig under the bush if you must, and you'll find the pot of gold." But poor Patrick didn't have so much as a stick to dig with. "If I go home for a shovel, I'll never be able to find the black thorn bush." "Not my fault," said the leprechaun. "You want to know where it was? I've shown you. Getting it home is your problem." Patrick thought and finally had an idea. "I'll tie my red scarf around the bush. Even in the darkness, I'll be able to find it." The leprechaun began to laugh. "Ha, that's your solution," he said. "Very well then, I'll be on my way." Now that the magical pot was almost Patrick's, he let go of the little man, who vanished like a shooting star into the night. Patrick tied the scarf tightly around the bush. There's a picture of Patrick tying it around the bush. It took him the rest of the night to make his way out of the swamp, go home for a shovel, and return. He chuckled all the way, saying, "I'll be rich for the rest of my life. I'll never have to work again." The sun was growing orange by the time Patrick stumbled back into the swamp, still chuckling. He was halfway through the huge field before he noticed every black thorn bush had a red scarf around it, and each scarf was exactly the same as his was. "That wicked leprechaun," Patrick said, shaking his head. "If I live to be 100, I'll never be able to dig every thorn bush in the field." So, with a heavy heart, he threw his shovel down and stomped home. And until he was an old man, he told his children and his children's children about that night in the big field of thorn bushes, the magical pot of gold, and the leprechaun. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. And remember, we're here for you. If you need anything, you can email us, and watch out for all the wonderful videos we're going to upload for you. Take care.